So really sought to get into this specific report here, and this comes from the AAGC and its specific document from May 22nd to the 26th of 2017. Very, very interesting as the timing comes to us at such a time, brothers and sisters, as I had hoped to get into more studies such as this, because it connects a lot to what we have spoken on at length with the Shanghai Cooperative, the BRICS nations, the One Belt Road Initiative, so on and so forth, or the resurgence of the Silk Road, just to put it plain. And much of the development projects that have been going on in and across the continent of Africa through many various countries in relations to China. This really had come to us at such a time that was, again, as I say, very, very interesting and intriguing, and showing that Africa, the entire continent, within the given countries that are involved, is in a very interesting and strategic position at this very moment. And documents such as these with the AAGC, which of course will be headed up by India and China, just shows forth so many interesting factors that we will definitely see play out over the next few years. And here within the this document of the AAGC, we have it coined and topicked as the Asia-Africa Growth Corridor, subtitled Partnership for Sustainable and Innovative Development, a vision document. Very interesting just to say the least. And the more interesting point was that the African Development Bank was allowed to host its meeting in India, in Ahmedabad, as we mentioned, from the 22nd to the 26th of May 2017. And here, just hitting a few of the bullet points before we get into the contents. The executive summary, of course, followed by the introduction, gives off certain topics such as proposed elements of the AAGC, development and cooperation projects, quality infrastructure and institutional connectivity, enhancing capacities and skills, people-to-people partnerships, and GSM, geographical simulation models. So interesting, just to say the least, time, brothers and sisters. And here, we won't keep the eye very long because we would love to get right into this. And the executive summary reads as such: the idea of Asia-Africa Growth Corridor emerged in the joint declaration issued by Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India and Prime Minister Shinzo Abe of Japan in November 2016. The AAGC will envision people-centric, sustainable growth strategies, details of which would be involved through a process of detailed consultations across Asia and Africa, engaging various stakeholders. The AAGC will be raised on 4 pillars of development and cooperation projects, quality infrastructure and institutional connectivity, enhancing capacities and skills, and people-to-people partnerships. So the 4 points which we mentioned there in the outline, so the bullet points of this specific document. Very interesting indeed. And moving on, the centrality of people-to-people partnerships would be the unique feature of this initiative. The strengths of the AAGC will be aligned with the development priorities of different countries and sub-regions of Africa, taking advantage of simultaneous homogeneity and heterogeneity among them. This would be undertaken to improve growth and interconnectedness between and within Asia and Africa for realizing a free and open Indo-Pacific region. The AAGC will give priority to development projects in health and pharmaceuticals, agriculture and agro-processing, disaster management and skill enhancement. The connectivity aspects of the AAGC will be supplemented with quality infrastructure. Also, the AAGC-led growth in Africa and Asia will be responsive to the collective commitment for the Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs. The AAGC's vision study will use geographical simulation models, or GSMs, as we mentioned before, to bring out the economic gains for Africa through its integration with India, South Asia, Southeast Asia, East Asia, and Oceania. The AAGC will contribute to development institutional mechanisms and models for connecting businesses, people, and think tanks that represent and contribute to the integration efforts of Asia and Africa. The Research and Information System for Developing Countries, or the RIS, in New Delhi, the Economic Research Institute for the ASEAN nations, or the Asian Southeast Asian Nation, or the Association of the Southeast Asian Nations, and East Asia, or the Area, ERIA. So, be sure to put these bullet points in your notes, brothers. The RIS, the ASEAN, and the ERIA. Be sure to research those. Jakarta and Institute of Developing Economies, or the IDE, in Jetro, Tokyo, and have developed the vision document based on consultations with Asian and African think tanks. And just to say the least, so many points really to just even take notes on in that first instance of the executive summary of this document here from the AAGC. And we really have to put into certain one's minds that we can't help but see most of these proposals and these developments coming up almost simultaneously with the presentations and development projects of the One Belt Road Initiative, with China heading these certain projects up. Now, of course, we mentioned many of these other cooperative nations coming into play, and of course, bringing forth these proposals, bringing forth these presentations to solidify, not only their claims to, of course, protect their own nations and their own interests, but also to partnership with other nations as well. And again, as we mentioned, Africa seems to be in such a strategic and intriguingly interesting position at this moment that it really kind of goes without saying. And even so, as we speak on this specific project and this proposal, which has been put forward, even so as the hosting of the African Development Bank was held in India just this past year, as per this report in this document, we can't help but notice all of the very, very, very interesting models and precepts and topical themes that seem to come out as we do a little more research. Now, here in the introduction of this presentation of this proposal put forward by the AAGC, the Partnership for Sustainable and Innovative Development Vision Document, we move on into the introduction, and the introduction reads more as such. Historically, Asia and Africa share a wide degree of similarities. They share their past struggles, ongoing efforts for faster economic growth and development, and a strong desire for assuring a brighter future for their peoples. It is abundantly clear from their growing closer partnership at numerous multilateral bodies to find solutions to their common challenges. Since time immemorial, the Indian Ocean linking the two continents has always been a major source of closer trade, cultural linkages, and people-to-people partnerships between Asia and Africa. The Asian economy has showed strong resilience and provided robust drive for the global economy in the past and continues to provide the tailwinds to the global economy. Africa, on the other hand, is on the growth path and poised for a leap. Endowed with a young demography, its economy and social growth indicators are ascending every year. The next decade will be an opportunity for both regions to realize their economic and social potentials, as also to deepen their capacities and institutional strengths. As developing regions, both continents are expected to place commitment to promoting strong, balanced, sustainable, and inclusive growth, both at the national and international levels, and to actively cooperate to narrow the development gaps and to address common economic and social challenges that are more important than ever. However, there is still vast and untapped potential among and in between Asia and Africa, which need to be explored for shared growth, development, peace, prosperity, and stability of these regions. The opportunities and aspirations in the two regions can be connected through an Asia-Africa growth corridor, or as they coin, the AAGC. The AAGC would consist of four main components: development and cooperation projects, quality infrastructure and institutional connectivity, capacity and skill enhancement, and people-to-people partnerships, as mentioned before. These four components are complementary to promote growth and all-around development in both the continents. The AAGC will be instrumental in creating new production channels, expanding and deepening the existing value chains, ensuring economic and technical cooperation, and enhancing capacities, facilitating greater flow of peoples between the two continents, and achieving sustainable growth over the longer term. The AAGC will be developed through quality infrastructure and complemented by digital and regulatory connectivity. Digital connectivity will also support the growth of innovative technology and services between Asia and Africa. Focus on people and quality infrastructure. These, of course, are the four bullet points that more so move into the main points of this specific document, as we mentioned before. Just reading through this, again, for the first time, I would say myself, and we'll definitely look more into more of the bullet points here as many of them move on to the complementary role of India and Japan, and of course, just dealing with this proposal of the AAGC to the African Development Bank just in this past year. We find, again, this very interesting in putting the entire African continent in a very strategic and intriguingly interesting position moving forward within the next few coming years. Now, just to say, before we even go any further, our brothers and sisters, we definitely can see much of the tickers, just to say the least, quote unquote, of many things coming to fruition, not only from the sense of what we understand, of course, scripturally and prophetically, but clearly, that, is ringing bells if anyone is paying attention, to what I am saying at this particular moment, because it really just has shown what we have been speaking on as far as these political and social and geographical and economic shifts. All of these shifts taking place in this specific time that we're living in, and all of the tides turning in such a way that has most of the world looking to the future in an entirely different light, not only from the Western standpoint, but also in the lands of the East as well. So we're seeing certain developments such as this, as we mentioned, the One Belt Road Initiative, and even so here with the Africa-Asia Growth Corridor, the AAGC, as mentioned, we still are seeing, a lot of these ones and ones jockeying for position to ensure not only their development, but their growth and thrival moving forward throughout the next years on up to the centuries. So, this is where ones definitely should, review a lot of this information. We definitely are gathering as much as we can, and we definitely will share on rastafarigroundation.org as well as our other platforms. I definitely will seek to do maybe a few vids and presentations just to get ones up to speed on this as well as myself. But we just, again, are seeing, just all of these happenings and these events, coming to a helm. Even so, as we mentioned, we're just in the first few weeks of this new Gregorian year, 2018. So just thinking on much of what has come to a head from the past years on up until this point, and what we even so, I guess you can say, hedging our bets, quote unquote, or looking forward to developing more in a more pronounced sense moving forward in the next coming years. It is more than likely time to keep one's eyes open as well as their ears and pay a lot more attention to what's going on in the grander scheme of things. Just so much more still to come. So much more still to come. My family, I just give so much thanks as always. And as I mentioned to a few of the brothers in a little private reasoning coming before the podcast, we indeed are living in interesting times.